What's going on, everyone? Graydon here. Welcome to another live on the channel. I appreciate you guys coming out today. I've got a couple people watching right now. I'll get the chat fired up here so we can see what's going on. Today, we're going to talk about the XL that just dropped. Shocker, another set comes out. Just getting rapid fire sets right now. What's going on, Raj? Thanks a lot for hanging out. Everyone's opening up so much product right now on the channels, checking out all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, we just had another Marvel Beginnings drop. We have Marvel Annual that's out at the moment. We have Fleer Ultra Wolverine. We just had Fleer Ultra Midnight Suns hit the press here on EPAC. And now we have this XL that's come on. And what do you really say about this one? This one's definitely kind of crazy. Like, we're seeing a product come out that is not including the artists. So Joe Jusko has not been included in this release, even though it's his artwork. So I find that really, really shady. I find this to be an interesting set to talk about. Here we go. Just got opening up 6 boxes. Did pretty good. No sketch. Mike, I'm glad you could jump on and talk about it. I want to know about your guys' opening experience for this, so feel free to drop comments here and we'll chat about it as we go. So, Mike, you bring up a great point. So, no sketches. That is the chase for these boxes, is the sketches. So I've seen some sketches that have been produced by artists for this. Wow, are they cool. The size of them is what we're going to be getting at here. So these cards that they're doing the sketch cards on look like the uncut sheets from the Rittenhouse days. The uncut sheets from the 98 set, if you want to go that far back. But the sketches are by far the best part of this set. And the question that I want to bring up with you guys is, are these cards? Are these even cards? When you're collecting, whether you're character collecting or set collecting, you have to have some boundaries. You've got to set something aside that's going to be, when something comes up for sale, is it a part of your collection? So for myself personally, in my Sabretooth collection, I don't collect stickers, I don't collect mini cards, and I don't collect oversized cards. So that leaves us exactly in that one little spot where I only collect regular size standard issue trading cards. And we all got to start making some choices about this. So here we go. We're going to talk some comments here. I got one coming for the B-Day Tuesday and Upper Deck sending me 5 blasters Monday. Finally, a modern box of MM that I can actually afford. Yay. What a great point, Jeremiah. So the price point on this, I believe, is $300 a box. And I don't think that that's an outrageous price for these. I think that that's getting people excited about opening them, seeing what's in them. I mean, the most exciting thing, as far as I'm concerned, about this set, other than just the sketches, the amazing sketches that you can find in there, are these oversized printing plates. These oversized printing plates are something that are cool. I don't really think I'm going to be collecting them, because how do you display these in your collection? How does this work into what we were just saying? How does this tie into what you're collecting? I don't do stickers. I don't do oversized cards. I don't do the minis. So for these, I mean, these might be cool to sleeve up and put one in the front of a binder for your set. But like we were talking about up here, and like Raj was getting at, it definitely leaves a bit of a bitter taste, not including Joe Jusko. And I think that that's bang on. So what are you definitely not going to see in this set as a result of that are autos. There's no autos in this. Joe Jusko had absolutely nothing to do with this set, despite that it's all of his artwork. So what we're getting is the epitome of recycled work. We're getting recycled artwork, and I think that that's become a pet peeve for all of us in these Upper Deck sets. I want to bring it back to a set that dropped a little while ago, the Fleer Throwback 89 set. It was all recycled comic art. It was only available on EPAC, and it was hot flaming garbage. All it was a money grab. The images weren't very good. The cards aren't very good. I mean, it's supposed to be a throwback to some kind of a baseball series that was done. And I mean, it was just a pure money grab. It was just trying to release these as quickly as possible and get us to buy them. And that's exactly how I feel about this XL set that's out, is that this is an attempt at them to use up old artwork and to create a buzz around because they haven't dropped the EPAC. And this isn't something that you want to go overboard collecting, I don't think, in my opinion, because these cards aren't, they're just ridiculous. They're just whatever cards you could throw in. And we don't need more of that. We really don't need more of that. People have been asking online in the Facebook groups a lot about the prices, about trying to price this, about trying to figure out where they sit with that. And honestly, like, these aren't worth very much. These really, really aren't worth very much at all. And trying to judge them based off MM16 prices is not the way to do this. Please don't be pricing these when you're buying them and you're trying to think of what your budget is for them. Don't be thinking of a Battle Spectra gem as an important card in a 5x7. It's not a Marvel Masterpiece card. It's a poster. You're buying a poster. You're buying a magazine cover. These are like and for me, I really am not thinking of these as cards. These are definitely posters to me. I'm just going to go through a couple more comments here. Kind of hilarious that there's blasters. I agree. It is kind of funny that there's blasters. This is such a crazy large product, hence the name XL. I'm surprises me we're even having the conversation in the card collecting world about them. Jeremiah, $200 for 5 blasters equals a hobby box. $100 difference. Mike says, love collecting comic books as much as I do the trading cards. These cards are like looking at a comic book, but I don't know what to say. They're beautiful. They are really cool images. Somebody brought up a great point a while back that there was a better chance at viewing these cards through the larger images and seeing the artwork a little bit more up close. And I agree with that. And my question here is, if we're leaning towards these larger cards, then why aren't we just collecting comics? So this is exactly to your point. If we're interested in this, if this is a product that we're interested in, well, we're talking about comic-sized images basically. So why aren't we just getting those ones? It brings up a lot of questions. It brings up a lot of funny questions to me, and I don't know. I'm really interested in this one. It's something that. Sorry, I'm gonna see if there's I think I have somebody else here trying to jump on. But why are we collecting these giant images? Like, we really do need to have a bit of a line that we're going to call. Give me one sec here, guys. That this is going to fit into a lot of our collections in a way that's reasonable. Oh, this is the sizes are just they're too darn big. And if we're into comics and we're into these CGC graded comics and things like that, fits way more into my collection than an MMXL set. I'm going to go through some more of these comments here. It's driving me crazy right now that finding the right size box to store it in. Storage is going to be a serious issue. Earn anything more? Yeah. There we go. I hope the sound's working now there, Nico. Let me know. It's a really strange thing to me, though, that we're actively like chasing all of these sets, and that this MM stuff, like, it seems like we're also desperate to get another MM release, that we're all diving on this, and it's kind of working. Thank you, Nico. Appreciate you, buddy. I'm so tired of all of these rapid fire sets coming out, and I think that this is just lazy on their end. This is greed. This is a lot of things. Not trying to be a Debbie Downer, just personally think they should have left it alone. Yeah, I'm on the exact same page as you, Madness. This is sort of what I'm getting at. I think that this set, I hope you guys aren't going to go crazy on this one, because this one isn't going to be, this isn't going to hold up prices like Masterpieces typically do, because it's not a Masterpiece card set. It's a Masterpiece poster set. At this rate, I mean, there's a 92 Just Go comic book that has all of the Just Go artwork from 92 in it, and like it's not collectible. It's $5, you know, and it's just got the reproduced images in it, and they're cool if you want to cut them out and put them on your wall and have like a poster collection. And I'm so confused why we're getting this. And I really hope that if you are buying these, there's a great opportunity here to use these as binder covers. Like if you have some like a character collecting binder and you want to throw one of these in as a cover piece or whatever, this is a great opportunity to do that, or put it on the front of your binder for your 2016 set. But having to buy a whole nother style of top loader, a 5x7, having to figure out how this would fit in a binder or what kind of shoebox this is going to go in, that's not card collecting, man. That's really not. I don't really know. I don't want to just bash this one, because the positives here are the sketch cards, and the sketch cards are going to be super cool from this. And there's a lot of great artists who have worked on them, but there's just nothing really that important about this set. And I brought up wanting to have a talk about this with you guys because of people inquiring about how to price it in the Facebook groups. And it isn't worth anything. It's worth a binder cover. It's worth a poster. Don't think that because it says Battle Spectra Gem on the front, or because they threw a number on the back of this gigantic card, it means anything. It doesn't. It really, really doesn't. If they would have cut Joe in, I think people would have more on board with it. I think that you're right. I think that there would have been more of a conversation about chasing autos, about chasing things if Joe Jusko was a part of it. But this seems to be slanderous. This seems like I'm actually impressed that this is legal. Clearly it is, because these people are always on top of their legal. But I can't imagine that anybody now wants to sign on with these companies and give away full rights to their artwork when there's an unlimited print run that they can do for different and multiple sets. And it's a strange thing. It's a really, really strange thing. I want to know what you guys think here. So let's keep the conversation going. There's a lot of people agreeing here, or same with Marvel Madness, that it would have been more interesting had they included Joe Jusko in this. Another thing that would have been interesting is if there was some new art to it. Like this is just a straight up reprint, and I think we've seen enough reprints. I think we've beaten that to death here at the Upper Deck Collecting. And so the moral of the story here is to try to come up with more of a clear vision of how you're going to collect. Alex B says, the best thing about this set is more people get to experience Joe's art. It's just a bummer UD shut him out. You know what? I'm all for there being more exposure of the artwork. And like I was saying earlier, like these larger cards make it even more impressive to see the artwork. It was just done in a way that was slanderous, and like I've been getting at, the size of the cards, like just pure size of the cards. They're not cards, they're posters. I'm a set builder and I plan on putting in top loaders and into a short box for comics. That's a cool way of doing it. I like hearing how you guys are approaching this. Maybe this is going to spark something that's different with people, where this is going to become a more regular size of card. I know that 5x7s come in premiere boxes. You've seen some amazing sketch cards that are done on them. And I think that a lot of us struggle on how we're going to store them and how we're going to display them. And now that kind of has been started with Premiere, and maybe now you guys have better solutions for how you're going to do it with XL. The mass public probably don't even know that Joe was included. I think that Marvel card collecting is still small enough where people are pretty familiar with these images. I think that there's definitely people that are sorry, Faust, I have no idea how long you've been hanging out there. There are still people who are familiar with this stuff, and I hope that no one's coming into Marvel cards and starting at XL. Let's say hi to our friend Fausto. Fausto, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, buddy.
I'm just going to change our layout here real quick. There we go. Thanks a lot for joining.
Of course.
So we're having a conversation about XL, the drop. I'm not opening any of this. This isn't a product I'm going to participate in. What are your thoughts about what you've seen so far?
I think depending on what people are hoping to do with this product, I think it's a little, the images are not stretched out, which I'm really, really happy about. I thought they were improperly cropped. I thought it would look really shabby, and luckily it's not. It looks very clean. It looks nice, but it definitely has the vibe of a money grab. You know what I mean? There's not a lot. There's just not a lot there in terms of substance. Not having pack pulled autos with Joe's magnificent signature on these. Also,
one of the best signatures around.
I will also be really cautious about having Joe sign one of these. I think
someone's got a comment right here saying that they would like to get 4 of them signed by Joe. I don't know if that's going to go over too well. And that's not a shot at you at all, but I'd love to be there for that conversation.
I would definitely. It's probably really. Look, he's a good guy. He's a nice dude. But he didn't see a lick of anything, and they just repurposed his art. The thing that really blew me away with the blaster variants for the canvas, the black ones as opposed to the regular ones, it's only the backs. From what I'm seeing, I haven't had them in hand, so don't quote me on that, but it looks like just the backs were changed. That's a really crappy thing to do for a variant because there's not much there. For a parallel, not even a variant. That's a little weird, unless there's something I'm not seeing, which is possible. I haven't had them in hand. But I'm not rushing out to get these things at all. If one comes my way, one comes my way, but I'm telling you, man, if this is not a sign of things to come, and I know this is Upper Deck, not Fanatics, who's putting this out there, but I'm telling you right now, get used to being, the
repetition.
Yeah, it's coming. You're going to see some cool things. I'm sure you're going to see some cool things, and I'm excited. I'll always be here for Marvel cards, Fanatics, whatever, and I'll be excited. There'll be portions of it that I'm looking forward to that I'm sure will be really cool.
Yeah.
But like on this channel, and what this channel is really great for, is it's promoting real collectors collecting, not binder nights are doing a great job. The content here is doing a great job selecting different stocks, different sets, different things to look at. There's going to be, this is what's coming.
Right.
This is coming. This is here for the next year. It's probably going to get a little dumb, and then you're going to see the inevitable. You know what I mean?
Something that we opened up with, Fausto, when we opened up the live here and we started, and I appreciate you saying that about the channel. We are all about collectors here. I don't give a shit about the companies. They've never sent me a thing. I've never even got a postcard, never got a Christmas card, so I'm not, here is all about the conversation of collecting. What we were discussing in the beginning was how we all need to be selective about what falls into our collection. And for myself, I don't collect stickers, I don't collect oversized cards, and I don't collect the smaller cards. Oh, sorry, I got you, Mike. No, and I hear what you're saying, but you're absolutely right. And it's going to be curious to see if he has any interest in touching the set as well. I get what you're getting at, but having a limit on what you're going to collect is what we're talking about, and just making it, having those boundaries and that focus really, really helps to exclude things like this from your budget.
I mean, look, there's a lot of good people at these companies wanting to make interesting cards and stuff. The machine is just, you have to feed the machine. And that's what these companies end up doing in the end, is that the machine has to be fed. A lot of things are made with good intention. Looking at Midnight Suns, right? That set just came out on ePack. And, someone discovering that set for the first time in that platform should be pretty excited. It's a really cool looking set, has a great theme, and it's well done. There's goods and bads to all this stuff. The XL thing truly is something where, like, if we're talking about what it means, what that set's going to look like in a year, you know what I mean? I think what's more important to ask yourself is not trying to predict how good a set does, because that's more of an investment question. I think the real thing is to say, what do I want my collection to inevitably look like?
Yeah.
And I think that's the better way to approach new sets. Like, that's where I'm at now. Yeah,
I love that. I think that's looking at how you want your curation to look is a great question to be asking ourselves right now.
Yeah, I just think that's a better way of doing it.
Yeah, we've just been bombarded with sets coming out recently. So a lot of people in the chat here were also mentioning that a lot of collectors have come into the hobby since Platinum. A lot of people coming over from sports. A lot of people who don't know who Joe Jusko is. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit on what I said before, where I think that Marvel collecting is really small and that the majority of people know. You guys are probably right. I'm probably a little out of the loop on how many people have come in, because I don't know where to find those people. I'm not interacting with those people. I would like to interact with them, and I hope that they find the channel and it helps to hammer down how to collect, why to collect, and how to do it in a way that works for you. But there's so many, I guess there's so many new people coming in. I don't have a good pulse on what people are collecting anymore. I don't, how do you have a good gauge of it at this point?
I mean, we've had this conversation. I've had this conversation with really great collectors who are on different sides of this. I think when people talk about people coming into a hobby, I think Marvel's still extremely young, and I think it's about to change again and just go through another wave, because that's what happened back in the day. The PMG pump and all that kind of stuff that was happening in terms of, collectors who had expended a lot of money were looking at a business and they were trying to monopolize a particular insert.
Mm-hmm.
And they went for that. And those things are going to happen again, especially as Fanatics gets it. And this is a way to, once again, feed a machine from a different angle, right? It's collecting cards now, selling cards, right? Selling cards to people right now is not about, hey, let's build a set so someone can enjoy this art from a far away glance, right? Which is it's what originally it came out to be. That's what it was. You would collect a full set, you would have like an individual experience with a card, and then you would step back and have an experience with a full set.
Right.
That's gone. That doesn't exist. That's very separate from the objective of most card companies now. Most card companies now are looking at this like, where's the breakers action, right? Yeah. Where's the excitement on camera? Where's the thrill of the gamble? Where's that? And that angle in itself is the approach. And you only get that approach when you introduce rarity that is manufactured, for the most part. And that just becomes the excitement. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a huge thrill. It's a hunt. It's what people bought all the blasters in Platinum. That's why Platinum sold so well, is that people felt like they were having a scratch off and hitting a card. And the cards look good. And they did some things really well.
Yeah. And, so Mike here is saying, he's like, personally, I'm going to be after the base and the what if sets. I'm thrilled when you guys are collecting. I hope nobody takes this as like I have a vendetta against anybody if they are collecting it. I hope you collect whatever on earth you like. If you enjoy it, man, absolutely. What I'm talking about more so is where I'm coming from in collecting this, and I'm not participating in it, so I'm going to make a video about why I'm not participating in it. And I love hearing that you guys are. Like, if you guys are, you're absolutely right. The what if set looks really, really cool. It just doesn't fall into the dimensions of my collection. So that's why I'm having a response to this stuff.
It's a good response too. I think, look, I think there's two things that should never be done on camera or, to the general public. And I've said this to people before who've had comments towards me. I'm never going to trash anybody at what anybody collects.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. On camera, I'm never going to say something. There's sets I don't like. There are things I don't like about cards, that I have opinions about all this stuff, like all of you do. But on camera, I'm never, ever bringing those to the forefront because my opinion doesn't mean. So why, who am I the, person who's going to like do this to somebody? You know what I mean? It's just my opinion. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just what I do. You know what I mean?
I totally agree with you. And I think that you and I do a job of telling people how we're collecting so that if they choose to, they can follow those kind of guidelines in a way. Like if you choose not to, that you're entitled to do whatever you like. But the reason that we put it out there about how we're doing it is sometimes to kind of steer you guys away from something that could get you away from your original goal. If your original goal was to have a certain amount of set cards for a character or a couple of sets completed, this could be a distraction from that. And that's why we're having this conversation. So I hope that it leads some of you away from feeling a pressure or a FOMO of like, oh, I should just, maybe this is what I really do got to get into because it says MM16 on it, right? And like, this isn't MM16. This is copy and pasted images. They just right click saved and blew them up. This is nothing. That's what it is. Like, call it what it is.
I mean, thing too, like, I think people should remember is that, am I coming in clear? Okay.
Yeah, you're great.
Great. Okay. So really what I would say, it's really tough to start to collect or continue collect and see everyone saying one thing and have doubts on your own and not think to yourself, well, I guess I'm the idiot. Let me go and try this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I think, because it's happened to me too. For instance, perfect example, right? Just had a huge conversation with people on one of my lives about breaking down the top 10 characters, right?
Yes.
That people collect, all this kind of stuff, right? I've put out as a tester, right? Which I'm willing to sell. You know what I mean? I've had out of 25 Kaleidoscope Silver Surfer, very first holofoil card of Silver Surfer. It's an card. All the boxes are ticked there, right? I had it out there for sale for $250. No one's touched it for 3 weeks. It's been around. No one's asked. Nothing. No movement whatsoever. No one wants to touch it. But yet there are tons of Silver Surfer fans, and he's a major character.
Right.
I call foul. You know what I mean? I think what's happening there, and when people talk about characters, they're talking about them from a specific set that they're looking to sell. And I think they're looking at, like they do with players, and they say he's coming in an MCU movie. He's a big character to hit. And I think it is a investment strategy, not necessarily a collecting strategy, right? There are certain cards I see that happen with, like, and the other part of this too is that, you know, I get stuck in FOMO too. I overpaid for the Black Silver Surfer. There's only 20 of them, and I knew it. It popped up on eBay. I hadn't seen one hit yet. It looked centered, and I overpaid. I paid, full disclosure, I paid like $450 back then, right? Right now, there's 2 or 3 on ComC for $325. I'm selling the full rainbow for $600 best offer, and that includes a purple, and no one's touched it.
Yeah.
And that's FOMO. That was all FOMO. And I don't regret it. I'm happy. You know, I'm trying to sell it because I'm moving in a different direction away from Surfer Modern. But you know what I mean? I think a lot of people are seeing this with Doom right now. I think a lot of people are seeing this with any Fantastic Four property. I think people are seeing this with Deadpool and Wolverine right now. These are not moves that collectors are making. These are moves that are being made by people who are investment people who are thinking about these in a strategic way, You know what I mean? That's what you're seeing. And the reason I bring all this to everybody's attention here is because very soon a lot of people are going to be stuck on a collector's budget, and the world is going to change where collecting is going to go to very wealthy people, and it's going to become very exclusive to collect and very difficult to collect. And they will start selling digital things to people that they can feel a part of. That's coming. That's real.
So when you say that it's going to get expensive, do you mean that the future product is, or that the product that exists today is also going to be a challenge to get your hands on? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
The first cover. No. I'll talk. You know me. I'll chat all day about this shit. The New Mutants cover that features Deadpool. It is probably one of the most. It's a great cover for many reasons. This is his first appearance issue, and he's on the cover, and the cover is very movie poster like. It is very much a very well thought out introduction to the character. Right? That's for sale for over $7 million or around there.
Wow.
Right? And people are knocking Rob Liefeld, who's, you know, very nice, who does all this type of work. They're you know, bringing up certain things about his art, but he's a very good artist. People are talking all these things about Deadpool. There's no reason that should be priced that high, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. What people are missing and what they're not watching is the fact that someone put that price out there on that piece. That should be the bells. That should be the alarm in everybody's head to realize, oh, this is very much going to move out of the hands of someone who's like hunted this stuff, followed the artists, made relationships, made connections, and it's going to start belonging to people who are just have the whim and the money to say, no, I want that on my wall.
Right.
That's fact. That is everything in life. That will be the reality of what all this stuff becomes. And the stuff that will be at that price point, and we had a conversation about this, and we can do it here if you want to do it live and you know, have that discussion. We can. It's your call. It's your show. But you know, truthfully, the stuff that's not manufacturer rare, the stuff that's actually rare that you can't get anymore, that can never exist again.
Yeah.
When people really figure out what that is,
yeah,
it's over.
Interesting. That I think that conversation is going to come up at a later date than today, because I don't know if I even have the answer to that question yet. I'm looking at so much stuff that's come out lately, this set included, and I'm wondering to myself, how are you supposed to sift through this to find out what's important? And I think that the way that a lot of us like to do it is by having a set of rules or guidelines that we follow. And when something falls into that set of guidelines for us, we deem it important. And for some people, that's the color of a PMG, it's the number, it's the sketch artist. There's a lot of it's the auto. There's a lot of factors to it. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have that figured out, because if I had that figured out, my collection would look a lot different. And I'm still going through this with all of you guys, of sorting it out on the fly, sorting it out as we go. And that's why we're having these conversations, is so that we're me and Fausto aren't figuring it out on our own, putting it to use in our collection, and then telling you guys about it 10 years later. We're all figuring it out together.
Also, like, you pick up stuff you like, right? Like right now, I've become very obsessed with a particular thing. And that's it. There's nothing else that interests me right now other than these two things. And that is surfer. Both are surfer related, but it's just types of cards. And I'm just like, I just don't want to participate in the other stuff. And it's just that choice, it's what makes you happy. I was just having a beautiful conversation with Donnie Cartwright, who's just awesome. The best, super nice guy. And I was just having a heartfelt conversation with him, similar to what you and I had. And he was just like, dude, that's it, man. When you start really vibing with something and you're like, that's the thing I want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the other stuff fades away. And I think that's where you want to get to, like collector nirvana.
Focus.
You know what I mean? The collector nirvana is where you want to be. If you're really in this to creatively make something that you want to be proud of,
yeah,
you have to kind of hit that stream, right? And that's why you're going through these emotions. Yeah, you pick up the 5x7 XL. You do this, you do that. You know what I mean? You do all this stuff without breaking the bank. You test the waters. You did that. You know what I mean? And then you find what you're into, and you stay afloat. You know what I mean?
Having that focus is really important. Something to bring up about, just to kind of touch on what Fausto was saying about how the future of this will make it more challenging to assemble. We're trying to put together guidelines as well for how you guys can put your collections together in a way that makes them unique to you, because one day these will be harder and harder to do. Every day they get harder and harder to do. There are other people coming into the hobby, but there are people coming in Asia. There is a huge portion of collectors that are collecting in Asia and are doing it in a way where they're grabbing up a lot of stuff. And I hope no one interprets it as a bad thing. I'm thrilled there's more collectors. Like, please don't interpret that as anything other than
it's awesome. Yeah.
So we're seeing, I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed your eBay purchases, a lot of them are coming from China, and that's because they're breaking so much product over there. So you're seeing a huge amount of product broken in China, and I'm sure in other countries around there as well, but mainly the ones I see on eBay are from China. And that's a sign to all of us as well that there are more people entering the hobby, and there are people doing it in a way that they are really going after. When you see that much product for sale, imagine how much they broke. Imagine how many boxes and cases they opened.
You bring up a great point. The future of cards is breakers. And then you won't see anybody else moving product as much as a breaker will for the next 5 years. Hands down, it's not happening. Like, it's just not happening. Like, in one way, it's really good because it takes the gambling aspect of it a little bit away. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? It's really great to have the ability to break boxes and cases and all that kind of good stuff. It really is. But 100% the future of this world is breakers, without a doubt.
Look at Manu's comment here. Thank you,
He knows. He knows it.
It's so this is, we are definitely moving in the direction of I don't want to call it a sports oriented kind of way, but the hobby is definitely moving away from its infancy. It is not going to be a small thing anymore.
It's not picking up a card at the mall. It's not picking up a box at a comic book store. It's not, trading with friends in the thing. It's now going on an app and digitally in a digital space trading graded cards. You know what I mean? It's in a space where you're breaking and you're bidding on something on Whatnot and hoping to win. You know what I mean? Buddy, you
I
know,
know
like,
we've been talking about people enjoying these larger sized cards and wondering if you're into these images. The logical step is to get into comics. If you're interested in a 5x7 card because the image is bigger, like that's why I'm interested in the comics. You know what I mean? I like that larger size. That fits into a collection for me because they're comic books. I don't want an in between. I don't want something that's in between a card and a comic. I'm not looking for that in my life or in my collection.
I mean, in a bit of a way, it's a callback to something called master prints, right? That we had back in the 90s with some masterpiece sets and some other things. You know, Flair did master prints with binders. The masterpieces did master prints too. So I see the symmetry and I get it. The problem is they're not, I haven't held any in hand. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. What do I know?
You're allowed to be wrong.
I'm allowed to be wrong. I could be wrong.
You
probably usually mostly wrong. Feel thin. They feel thin. They're not thick cards. So they're very thin. They're 5x7. They look great image quality. You know what I mean? But, you know, they're nice. They're nice. People are going to have them in the collections. They're going to store them and they're enjoying them. There's going to be people who love them. And it is a great way to appreciate the art. You can buy the Joe Jusko book and appreciate the art. You know what I mean? Joe's name's not on the box, probably because it was their way around of not including him in on the set, to be honest. You know?
I hear you. Someone's got a point here I want to talk about, but there's an additional thing. If you collect the comics, I must read them too, right? What if I just like the cover art? Is there a weird thing of not reading the comics? So I'm going to address this right now. I have all of my Sabretooth comics are all graded. I've never read one of them. Okay, I've got them for the cover art. I like the way the cover looks. If anybody thinks that that's stupid or that's a problem, drop me a comment. I want to hear what you think. But I haven't cracked one of them open and read it. You know, I have not I like them graded. I like them displayed because I like the cover art. You know, and that's just a personal thing. So and for me, I don't feel bad about that. I hope you guys don't either. If that's how you're collecting them,
they're graded. You can't read them.
Yeah,
they're just framed artwork. They're meant for archival. Like grading comic books is not, grading comic books is for the collecting aspect of comics, not the readability.
Yeah.
Right. That's the idea. It's you're participating in grading comics because you are placing X value. Like when you get anything graded and authenticated, you're saying, okay, this is something I want to preserve. For an archive, I want to preserve the grade. I want to preserve the condition. I want to keep it out of harm's way because I think it's important either to me nostalgic or me as an investment. Same thing with cards. When you grade a card, the nice thing about grading cards is that you don't have to open or flip a card. It's all there. That's the nice thing about grading cards. That's why I caught on so quickly, because it is kind of a lovely way to enjoy the piece without having to, you know, lose out on reading something like in a graded book. But most of these things are scanned. You can buy the omnibus. You can read them online. You know, obviously you shouldn't steal comic book work reading them online because you take money away from artists and people like that. But it's a nice way to do it. You know, I don't think there's any wrong way of collecting. The only thing that makes me scared is when it jeopardizes the hobby. That's what bothers me. When there's a lot of language that jeopardizes the healthy nature of a hobby. That's when it starts being a little where I'm like, you know what I mean? That's where it starts getting under my skin. Because now I'm like, well, now you're just like, you know, like who, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, for sure. So on that topic, actually something I want to get at. For all of you guys who are watching this and are following along with collecting, be very careful about who you're listening to about this stuff. If every time something comes out, someone's trying to tell you it's the new sliced bread, you know, it's the hottest thing since pancakes. Everything is not great. Everything that gets released is not fantastic, right? So, you know, when be careful that you're not getting pitched this hot flaming garbage. Like, nobody should be telling you how great Fleer 89 is. You know, no one should be like trying to sell you on this. So be careful who you're paying attention to in the collecting space, because there's a lot of this stuff that is fun to open but isn't worth anything. It's worth the experience to rip and open, but you have to decide the dollar value on that, because after it's out of that package, it's worth $1.
And I think it's worth saying, because Graydon said it very well, but I think it's worth saying out loud that, I think it's worth saying out loud that it's something to note that when you see cards sell for high prices, right? MM16, Flair Retro, PMGs, whatever. The reason they're selling for high prices is because there's a nucleus of people who are collecting them and they're playing in a different price bracket, right? Mm-hmm. Don't confuse that with, oh, this is something that I need to be in on because of X. Some cards might be hard to really find later on. 100%. They do disappear. That is not a joke. Anything 10 and lower, Justin and I have had this conversation. Anything 10 and lower gets really hard to find later on. However, when you're seeing things sell for high price, don't confuse that with like, oh, everybody would pay that money for that card.
Right.
Because that's not Justin, always the case.
Why don't we get you to weigh in here? What's your experience with the XL cards been?
Well, I've only opened one box, but Manu, the 9.9 newsstand, opened a box, so I'm sure it's like going to the moon now since he's pumping it.
Can't take you guys anywhere.
How are you? People have been inquiring quite a bit about how to price this. I've noticed in the Facebook groups, people are trying to find out if they compare it to MM16 and then not finding a lot of great ways to price it. What are your thoughts on pricing this item?
Well, I think first off, you got to know that it's not a trading card, like in the sense that, we collect Marvel trading cards. This fits more in the realm of a novelty that allows you to have an experience of something that you missed out on that's pretty special. And, I think there's two homes for these cards, okay? Home number one is your psychopath master collector, and you got to have it because it has your character, or you're so invested in 2016, you got to have it to go
right.
with it. And, if I was just like a 2016 homer and that's all I collected, I'd be happy to have something to dive into again, to enjoy again personally. But, and then the other person is someone who's totally missed out on any of the masterpieces, couldn't afford the $700, $800 box of 22, and is appreciating the opportunity to have an experience with the masterpieces art, particularly if you're a Jesco fan, which we know there's plenty of those, right?
So you're thinking that people get to interact with the artwork, even though it's not a trading card, they get an opportunity to participate in seeing the work up front and in hand.
And don't forget, like, they also get to interact with it as a community. Like, it's not just me, let's take me out of the equation. Whomever, it's not just them. They're doing it with a group, and they're all seeing the art again, or truly maybe even for the first time in some cases, right? I can tell you, I've had a number of people reach out to me that, that are going, hey, I want to do this. I want to open this. If I do open it, how do I store it? Where do I put it?
Right.
Asking those kind of questions. I think that's going to be the bigger challenge as this evolves. It's just how to actually house it, right? How to keep it and collect it. But I think for me, it's a little bit more of a novelty. I think Joe, with his comments that he did early on when it was kind of officially announced, I think he kind of set a narrative for this release that, people are pro artists, so it's easy to be like, yeah, the artist, like get behind the artist, screw Upper Deck, screw this release. But I think if this was like 1996 Marvel Masterpieces at this scale, and the artist said nothing, talking about Julie Bell and Boris Vallejo,
yeah,
like, this would be it would just explode, right? And so it's just interesting that how a narrative can impact people's desire to enjoy something or not enjoy it.
With something you've mentioned here that we're calling this a novelty item. Mm-hmm. This isn't a Marvel trading card, and it's interesting to me that it's being treated like it. The opening experience is in a pack. It's blown up card sizes. It has all of the markings of a Marvel trading card, but we're not calling it a Marvel trading card.
to be fair, it's not a blown up trading card. It's a true 5x7. They did a really good job of putting the image on the 5x7.
I will say
in
that.
fact,
yeah.
I will say that, if you want to call this a copy and paste, this is the best copy and paste they've done, because every trading card is a copy and paste of the original art, if you're talking about original art. So I don't think that's really fair. I think Upper Deck did a really good job for what they were wanting to accomplish. And again, aside from Joe's comments, I think he would be really proud that people are getting to actually see his art for the first time. I'll have a confession. I have very little of the MM16 Spider-Man. I went heavy on the Venom and the Wolverine because the art looked better to me on the trading card. But seeing the Spidey blown up, I actually like it more now because I can actually see it and appreciate it. Where on the card, when it was scaled down, it didn't really do it for me. It was like a trapeze artist that has some quirks in it, right?
Yeah. I think that it's interesting. I think that part of the opinion I have of this set, because I am not a fan of this set, comes from collector fatigue. And I think the last thing we needed was a novelty item thrown in the mix. I understand that we can all collect at our own pace, but I think that if there had been a lull in collecting for a few months and then this came out, I could see myself being interested in it because there was a bit of a gap and there was a bit of a, oh my God, something to be interested in. But with the flood of everything that's been released lately, I find that to work against this set. I hear what you're saying about how Upper Deck did a good job of not stretching the images and releasing this. But it's just we've seen so much that it isn't only Joe's comments about the set that have, in a way, tainted my opinion of it. It's also a question of, is this just being pumped out there for another product for people to buy to make money? Or was they felt there was a necessity to put out a 5x7 card? They were like, the hobby needs a 5x7,
Well, so in fairness, 5x7 is something that is not new to the hobby.
Right.
There are 5x7 sketches out there.
In Premiere, we discussed that earlier.
Well, and then in cards in general, 5x7s are often like box toppers that you get along with the set. It's unique in that it's a fully based 5x7 set. Now, I think if Upper Deck had did a sketch per box, we would have a different opinion about it all being 5x7s.
Agreed.
Because it would be really, let's appreciate Joe's art, but we're really buying a sketch.
Yeah.
Like, we're really chasing a sketch. Now, the problem with that would be you would have the narrative of, hey, we're buying a reprint to get a sketch, because the box price would be $600 then, not $275.
So, two things. A, both comments are awesome. My thing is, could you share my screen? I want to show people what they could store these in. That would probably look really good for them.
Cool.
So they have an opinion. So they can so they at least find something, because I had to do this with Master Prints and the 5x7s for Surfer. So I put that on the screen. I think you're muted, Graydon.
Here we go. Going to add you.
There you go. So this is called an art portfolio. If you collect comic book art or anything like that, or you're a photographer, you would know what these are. They look like this. They're acid free. They're very nice. And they make one here for a 5x7 or 8x10. So this is the item number, and you can go to Amazon and purchase that there.
That's cool.
Okay, just so you guys have an option. You know what I mean? So this is what you type into Amazon, or go find it at an art store, preferably, obviously. But a Toya art portfolio. Okay.
Very cool. I appreciate you showing this. A little catch up here. Justin, what are you doing right now? Where are you?
I'm at the airport.
You're
in the NBC plane. That's my level.
Where are you off to?
We're headed back home from New York.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time on the road as well, and I find myself in the airport watching a lot of content. I spend a lot of time checking out what I've missed in the last little while I was at work. So I'm thrilled that you could join us for this conversation.
I didn't think I was going to be able to, but look, there's like nobody here.
Man, you are on your own. You are a Sunday traveler right now.
It's kind of crazy, because I thought there's no way I can get on this live stream while I'm in the airport, but I think y'all can hear me okay, and it's
your reception's coming in pretty nice.
Good.
So Manu wanted me to pull up his comment here, and he wants us to just have a quick chat about. He says, "Yep, just a quick release while they can, but it happens to be fun and good looking. Simple situation, really." Is that the one you want to talk about there, Manu? I think that I think that's what I was getting at about being fatigued about all of the stuff that's coming out. I'm confused how this falls into. I'm not seeing how this was necessary.
Oh, I got a good comment because Justin mentioned this earlier, and I thought this would be an interesting comparison. Let's say these were 5x7s and Upper Deck released this on their website. Complete full set, all 5x7, including the stuff they didn't get to print in cards, like the Galactus, the Thing, the Fantastic Four that are in the art book. What if all those came sealed in a little box? Bada bing there, you had them all, no numbers, no parallels. You had a full set, boom, in the Upper Deck store for, let's say, $32.99, right? They're not limited. Let's say there's like 5,000 made. Do they sell out?
No, because they didn't even sell out of. They didn't even sell out of DeSantos's poster with the uncut sheets.
That's my point. Is that this is cool. This is great. They did a good job. They didn't botch the artwork. Based on the sell sheets, it looked like they were going to scale it, which would have been a nightmare. Like, I was really impressed. They look really clean and great. But the question is that if this was a complete set in a little box, nicely displayed for $32.99, it wouldn't sell out. It would sit there because it would act like a novelty item. But because it's numbered, because it's colored, because there's opportunities for sketches, everything changes with the approach to the set, which I find interesting. Not bad, not good. I just find it interesting.
Well, if you take away the gambling aspect in the Marvel trading card hobby, that it completely shifts and changes. Like, it's like collecting postcards, right? People call these postcards. Well, that's what it would be like. No one collects postcards.
So are you saying that in order for something to be collected, there has to be a risk and a kind of like surprise scenario to it? Like, there's just an interesting, like, it's just interesting to me,
Yeah, I mean, if everything was available all at once, it wouldn't feel as rare as it feels. You can step outside of yourself and go, okay, when everything's open, how rare is it? Well, it's not that rare, right? But it's hard for people with emotions and desires to interact with it that way.
Yeah, I get caught up all the time in that.
Yeah, and then you add the component of like, no, I want that experience too. Like, I want the enjoyment of opening to see what I get. For me, I was like, man, what an experience! I get to trample through New York City, go to a comic book shop, and open up a box and see what I get.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was a lot of fun for me. It wasn't just what I got; it was the experience around it too. And people have their ways that they do that. You add in the component of it's actually hard to get. I mean, you can't just always walk into a comic book store to get it. That impacts people's view and desire to what they'll spend on it as well.
Yeah, 100%.
We need to discuss the best insert in all of this. I don't care if they were 5 feet by 7 feet. There are printing plates in this, people. There are 5x7 printing plates in this. So let's talk about this.
I've only seen the Hella. Have y'all seen anything else?
There were like 2 or 3 others I saw. It's on your Discord, funny enough. Yeah. But I saw 2 or 3 other ones in the masterpiece. So if you go to the Spidey Hits Discord, you can see 2 or 3 other ones. They're cool. They're very cool. I'm not gonna lie. If there was a Surfer one, obviously depending on the price, but I try to grab one at least because I think they look cool.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think they look amazing, and so this is what I wanted to get at. I don't like this set. I think that this is all a bit ridiculous. I love the sketches in this, and the fact that there are printing plates in it is insane. And that isn't something I would keep in a binder. If I were to get either of those, if I were to get a sketch or a printing plate from this, that's going in a frame on the wall because it's big enough to do so and not look stupid.
Yeah, it's a very cool centerpiece to a collection for sure. It's nice.
So here's the part that makes it hard for me. This Magic by Joe is like one of my least favorites. So it makes it difficult because I want to collect that, right? But I really don't want it at the same time. So
I've been there, man. It is awful. It's the worst thing in the world. I was having that problem when I was backtracking Surfer, because I had all my surfers from when I was a kid, but then I was doing different conditions, being, character collecting back in the day kind of stuff. And I had that problem with the alternative M Surfer and the base Surfer for Metal 95, right?
okay.
Like the one I love is the Metal Blaster, right? That's the one I grew up on. The other two Surfers, I was not a huge fan of those at all. But I had them in the collection because they were like $2 at the time to buy in a good condition and have them in the binder. Now you're thinking, well, am I spending 100, 150, or, if people, don't lose their minds, 50, 70 bucks on an XL card that I'm not a fan of. I don't know. I've done the thing now where, and this might change, but I just do one example. I'm just like, you know what? If I found the out of 10 for a good price, then that's my one. I don't need to get the rest. And that's what I'm doing now. But you're deep in the Magic character collecting, man. You're like so in it now. I don't know if you want to call that now or wait a little longer.
I do have some boundaries, and the boundaries have been it's got to fit in the binder. So
excellent. That's true. I love it.
That's a good one.
In theory, I could just do like one of the binder sheets. Like you put a 8x11 in, and just put an example of that in there and call it a day. But who knows?
Fitting in the binder is pretty important when you're trying to put together a binder set. It's like, hey, check out my binder, and then run across to my living room and check out this frame piece that didn't fit in there. It doesn't have the same ring to it.
I got 3 boxes with that very same example happening to me every time I flip through my binders. You know what they should do? If Upper Deck really wanted to impress me, they should put out a limited run of binders where you can insert your 5x7 on the front and have it be the cover.
I love it.
And have
I love it.
That's what they should. If they really wanted to impress me as a way to say like adios, they would put a binder out there, whatever it is.
All right, so I like the hypothetical stuff there. If we were gonna build a 5x7 set, how would we do it differently?
I'll let you go first, Fausto. What do you want to share your thoughts?
Betrayal.
My show. You go first.
Betrayal. You just threw me out in the woods. Well, first off, I would make sure that there was something about the 5x7 that would make sense why it was 5x7. You know what I mean? Like I would do something with the card that wasn't just like, oh, here's what a Mirage looks like if it was blown up. Here's what a Gems looks like if it was blown up. It would be something that would capture the nature of the 5x7 in cards specifically. That's a bit tough. I think a good way to do that is to have, miniature original art kind of thing from the artist, but that's a very limited kind of major insert. But I would figure out a way to have something like that be included to have it make sense. Like one of my favorite things they've ever done in MCU cards was put relic cards there, which they don't do anymore, which is actual movie memorabilia in card form. That's slowly left. You know what I mean? One of the best cards they ever came out was the Black Panther one, right? Where you had a piece of the costume and it was a massive thick card, but it doesn't matter because it was a card framing movie memorabilia. You know what I mean? So there would have to be something there. Like in this set, there's no autos, and that feels kind of like, with that much space, you really could have remark cards. You wouldn't even have to ask Joe to do like on a sketch card. You would say, well, just do remarks on 10 of X,
Yes.
And that would have been sick because it would not only capture why a 5x7 was necessary, but it would also like allow the artist to do a sketch on the art, or maybe they did a variant where they put the horns on Magic. You know what I mean? Or they did something cool like that. Like that kind of stuff, that would be cool. That would be cool.
For myself, the perfect 5x7 set, if I were to do this, is I would do them all as homage sets to a bunch of sets. I would have the checklists blown up because all these would be used for is sliding into the front of my binders. I got 75 binders on the shelf. I have no
5x7 checklist.
5x7. I would do a homage to sets. I would make sure there's a checklist from everyone and a couple bangers from each set, and I would use those as the fronts to identify what set was in the binder. I'd have nothing numbered. I'd have nothing rare. It would never sell. I'd get fired as CEO, and I'd go back to the oil patch. It would be crazy.
All right. So before Last Fat Magic sinks the company, what I would do is I think taking a set like 96, obviously, I think would be the ideal set. But I do think if you were able to get the artists involved, have the autos on there, beautifully done, maybe have them do some inscriptions, like about how that's their favorite art or something.
Cool.
On a few of them. Obviously, a remark would be, could you imagine if there were...
But inscription is good because on the back of all the masterpieces cards, you would have a quote from the artist. That's a brilliant suggestion. Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah, I like the stuff numbered. I like the parallels because it adds to the thrill of the hunt, and I like it when it's not super easy.
Yeah.
But I understand why you wouldn't. But
I would do it with autos. I wouldn't do it with numbers. I would have done it with autos.
Yeah, it's really taxing on, because the struggle there, in my opinion, would be you really tax the artist, or you make the product really expensive if you don't put enough of it in there.
Fair enough.
And so the serial numbering actually creates a scale of economics for people to have something to chase, but also not completely break the bank.
I think something that none of us would do is choose one set, not involve the artist at all, and just print it on 5x7s and put it in the box. We can all agree on that one.
Yeah.
What we don't know is what it's like to interact with the artist and what their response may or may not be. So
it's a weird decision to do in the context of what's happening currently with the company. And I think that's where it gets, dicey. It's one thing if nothing was changing, if the collector fatigue wasn't there, like Graydon said.
But Fausto, we've known about these XL cards for well over a year because we were trying to understand what masterpiece set it was.
Yeah, but Upper Deck knew they were coming up on a deadline for like 3 years.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. It's so interesting, and Graydon, these sets are really painful right now. The rate that they're coming out, because I've got stuff pre-order, so I have to pay for it. Right?
Oh God, that's right.
Yeah, I'm nervous, and I've been looking forward to my Avengers medal, but now I'm like, okay, I got 3 cases I got to pay for.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to complain about it because I went over a year with almost no release, and I was just like, we should have a set a month,
When it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. Yeah. And I don't want these to be interpreted as complaints. These are criticisms. These aren't. This isn't whining and complaining. These are just general criticisms from collectors.
Oh yeah, but at the same time, imagine if platinum was the only thing that had come out since March.
Yeah.
What would happen to those box prices?
Good point.
Yeah, I think a lot of things are going to be under I'm interested to see people start hunting, because that's what happened with the Star Wars stuff. Like when Topps left and Fanatics got Star Wars, people were like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then they ran. You know what I mean? People were looking for things, trying to understand things. It was really cool. It was a really cool moment before it got shaky. But it was a very cool moment of seeing people let me figure out what Star Wars is, or yes, I want to do this. You know what I mean? Let me figure out what's not going to be around anymore for a little while. Not forever, obviously. I don't think forever's forever, but it is interesting to see people start, because I always like it when people start researching. Like Justin and I back in the day had videos about this where we looked at a set and broke it down. But I'm excited to see people be like, all right, let's start. Let's go do that, because I think it's cool.
That's what I was thinking about this morning. I was like, man, I can't wait till somebody else starts making videos about how they're figuring out Marvel cards for the first time.
Yeah.
And I think with Fanatics coming, look, there's a chance Fanatics announces next week.
Yeah, it might be. It might be at the Fanatic Fest. It might be
Fanatic Fest. I got word this week that they're opening up offices, hiring people in Los Angeles right now for Marvel. It feels like it's happening pretty fast. And I think it was Neo that was saying that. Was it Neo? I can't remember who it was, but let's give Neo credit either way. But that when they announced they got, was it wrestling, that they put out a set like immediately.
Yeah.
It was not a delay. It wasn't like we're good. Now we have it. Next year you'll see a release. Like it was like we have it and go buy it.
I wonder what the lead time was on the rumors to when they announced they had it. So when they announced they had it, or they released it, right?
Yeah, that's basically how it was described to me. What I said.
That makes sense.
I don't know any of how to give commentary around it other than that.
I will say the marketing is great. I'm following Fanatics now on Instagram, and it is constantly showing wrestling everything. You know what I mean? Like it's very. They kind of did that with Star Wars in a way too. And I will say it will be cool. It's like the key thing, the kit. How do you say it? Kit. The kit stuff was really cool, man. I was surprised at the stuff they used. You know, they used Tom Morgan's Silver Surfer from MU90. Someone looking at that stuff and really loves the cards because the art choices were from cards for most of them. They weren't just random pulls. So it's pretty.
I think that comes directly from Feige, but that's just a guess.
That's a hell of a thing to pick out. That's a pretty obscure image.
I say Feige.
That's crazy.
What's the kit owner's name? Not Feige.
Oh, I got what you mean. Yeah, I think he must be a fan of something. Like he has to be a fan of this stuff.
Well, listen to an interview from him last year. He's a huge Marvel card fan.
That's cool.
The 92 Jim Lee set is like his. That's what got him. That's what hooked him.
Smart man. That's a good set. It's a good set.
With one thing that I wanted to kind of bring up here as a part of this XL conversation is I wonder how this might change artists' contracts moving forward. If there would be more of a conversation in that contract about reprints. Is that something, do you think, that artists are going to be thinking about moving forward with sets like this?
I have thoughts.
Yeah, let's hear your thoughts, Justin.
I think every artist should be looking at Alex Ross and studying him as a business person. Alex Ross is obviously an amazing artist, right? Yeah. But he doesn't pull any punches to Joe Jusko. Joe's an amazing artist.
Right.
But both of them exist financially very different in the space. And where Alex Ross, and I don't know Alex Ross's business backwards and forwards, but just from what I can tell, like he's learned how to negotiate the right to do his own prints, which is very difficult for artists to get, right? And I think he obviously understands how to leverage his popularity and knows how to negotiate his contracts. And so I live in a world of contracts. I read contracts every day. It's part of my job. I have to do it. And so when I hear an artist complain about, well, I didn't get paid for that, I'm like, well, did you? And you just didn't do it. You just didn't have a good contract where you could continue to get paid for it.
Right.
Right. Because it's one thing to sell your art and then you freely, wholly give a company the rights to it, and you therefore relinquish the rights in exchange for money, and then fuss about not getting paid down the road, right? Like that's like, well, but they paid you already, actually.
Right.
And so, I think it would be really important for artists to understand contracts, to study how to actually, truly monetize their business as well as possible. I mean, art is a big deal, but I saw a post today about starving artists, and I don't want artists to starve. I want them to thrive and do well. But I think studying someone like Alex Ross would be my encouragement.
Him and Bill Sinkovich do really well, right? Like their booths are very modeled similar. Sorry, great. I interrupted you, brother.
No, you're the one I wanted to hear from next. Please continue.
Oh, no, I was just going to say like Bill and Alex Ross, like you're right though, right? I always think it's crazy. Like when we were at New York together. You know what I mean? Back then.
2021, if you can believe it.
That was the first time I saw the Alex Ross booth. I was like, does he have originals here? Like, what is this? Because I had all these questions because it's very intelligently, he built a gallery space in the convention. And that's what he always does, right? New York, SDCC, it's a gallery space in the convention. And
he's almost never even there.
And it's always like Sal or his other, no, Sal is for Bill. And Bill does the same thing, right? Bill Sinkovich has a similar setup. It puts out it really says something, right? It says something like, hey, I'm a legacy artist. I treat my stuff with a lot of respect, and I respect what I do. And that is a hell of a smart way to play. Now, obviously, artists who are trying to come up through the ranks, they don't look at contracts because truthfully, they're just like, well, shit, someone's giving me a break. And they're put in a very precocious kind of like situation where it's like, well, if I say no, then just going to pick the next guy. So I have to deal and say yes to certain things. But you're right though. Like it is kind of like, I think if we're talking about what artists are going to do differently after seeing XL, if that's what happens, I think artists are going to, try to think differently about this stuff, but I think they should also think differently about the art. There's no reason on this planet, and I hate that I'm going to say this live, but I'm going to say this because it's part of the conversation. I don't see any Pokemon original art. I think
that's where we're headed.
That's where I'm thinking. 100%. Magic the Gathering art, very hard to come by. It's going to get even tougher. Pokemon's gone. Like there are certain things in the card space. I'm surprised. Lucasfilm has first rights to Star Wars stuff. Even in the card world, everything. They look at it like, do we want this for our archive first? Mm-hmm. And if they say no, then it goes. Why that's not happening with Marvel, I'm shocked. Yeah, I have no idea.
And I think what we're seeing too is with the speed of which companies are going to want to release this stuff, they're going to continue to push artists to do digital work. And traditional art is going to continue to become more and more difficult to gain access to, which impacts an artist's ability to make a living because they get more money obviously when they're able to sell original art.
I'm really glad that we got to all kind of weigh in on this and sort of speculate on the direction of all of it. I started out wanting to have this conversation about XL, and I've learned a little bit more about it recently. And I love when something like this spawns out more conversation, like spawns out what the future of artist contract looks like, wondering how on earth you collect this, how you're going to store it, how does it fit in your collection. I loved your question, Justin, of what would we do with the 5x7? I think whenever you're criticizing something, I love when someone asks you, well, what about you, genius? What would you do? I think it's a great way of keeping the conversation constructive, of asking 100%. Stuff like that. Yeah, and I appreciate the answers. Oh, sorry, my eBay alarm just went off, and
you're secretly buying.
That's so real.
And I think that we really covered what we wanted to talk about with this product. I appreciate you guys weighing in. Do we want to close off on anything?
I think, I don't know what the messaging is, but as Upper Deck, dwindles down in the releases and then that's Fanatics, starts pumping in product. I hope that we're all able to stay grounded. I hope that collectors are able to stay grounded. I'd encourage you to, let the dust settle, especially if you're selling your stuff, because, there is a chance that we'll look back at the Upper Deck years as kind of a golden period of Marvel cards. And
without a doubt.
And you might regret that you sold those things. So, and maybe not. Okay, who knows? But I think it's, if you got to sell because you need the money, that's just part of life, right? Do what you got to do. But I think letting the dust settle, and let's see what the next year or so is going to look like, would be important.
Holding on to your Fleer throwback master set will not go up in value. Spoiler alert, everyone, that one was junk. But yeah.
Which one is that?
The throwback 89, the E-Pack exclusive Fleer one.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't get any of that. So yeah, you can dump that.
Fausto, what about you? What do you want to close on?
These conversations are important to have. It's good to hear everyone's opinions about what's happening. It's good to test the waters. It's good to feel like what the temperature is in the hobby. And just remember, I mentioned this earlier, but start finding where you want to be. You know, if you get into the stream where you're like, hey, I don't care how much I'm spending on this because I just absolutely love it.
Right.
I think if you can find that as fast as you possibly can, you know what I mean? I think that's a nice thing. I think it's a good thing. And I think it's healthy for this stage of the hobby right now to be very happy with what you're getting into yourself into. Whether it goes up, down, whatever, everything always goes up and down. We've had these conversations 1,000 times. Yeah. But I find what you like. Find what you like, because a lot right now, people are distracted. People are collecting a lot of different things. People are making big decisions. And I'm seeing a lot of cards come to market that haven't been to market in a while.
Yeah.
Now's the time to look close at this stuff, in my opinion.
I got another warning. I'm not saying it's going to happen soon, but eventually you're going to be hearing that there's 99 cases left of platinum on EPAC. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that you need to buy it or you're going to miss out. If you want it, great. Like, that's your decision. Yeah. But it's going to be nuts. It's going to be everywhere. Everyone's going to be talking about it. There's going to be a countdown. You're going to think the world's going to end when it runs out. Just have your pocketbooks guarded and protected, you know, when you start hearing that countdown.
So, Justin, you're saying that the world is not going to end when platinum sells out? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's my prediction, but, you know, I'm not always correct.
You heard it here first, everybody, and I appreciate it. I think that's a really good point. It's a really good point.
It's a good point. It's a solid point.
Yeah, I mean, especially if there are cards that haven't popped up yet, which may have already popped up and they're locked and we don't know it. Like, if you've ever been near EPAC when there's that countdown that happens, and when I say it happens like in 24 hours. Yeah.
Wow. When we know where all the big cards are, Lewis has them. He has all of them. He's hit all of them. It's not up for debate. It's all in Lewis's EPAC.
It's insane what that. I think I gave him a nickname earlier today because he's nothing but bangers. Like, this guy is insane. Now, in fairness, I went and looked at his EPAC and he had over 20,000 platinum cards on there. So he is open in the.
It's nothing. I have a solid 50. Okay, compare that.
This was super fun, guys. Manu wants to express his love for Justin, and I'm sure everybody else. And really grateful that we could joke around on a Sunday with our friends, have you guys in chat and participate. Thanks so much. The jokes are outrageous in the chat. You guys are crazy. Yeah. You're all mad people, and you should all seek help clinically. It's
love you too, Manu.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I'm going to end it there. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday.
Take care, everybody.